Slayer, Hell Awaits, 7 tracks, 37 minutes, the second studio album of the American thrash band, released March 1985 by Metal Blade, produced by the band and Brian Slagle. No singles were released from this one, and this came out after the previous record was the label's biggest seller to date.
As I've said before, and I'm going to say it again, any album that has a build-up of some kind, I love that. That sets a mood. Those satanic vocals and all that crazy stuff beforehand, it's just like, oh, it's fucking exciting. It's still fucking exciting now. Even on a Decade of Aggression, when you hear the live one and they do that song, it's like, that is the perfect opening track. Fuck, the way it just kicks in and then it just builds and builds and builds and then they just go frantic. That's Slayer's career in 5 minutes. That is them. Like, you're going to have to play one song that's go, what was your band like for 30 years? That would be the song. That's
not
it.
a bad way to put it, actually.
Yeah, it sums up everything. For me, this one does have some mixing issues. I find that the vocals are way too high in the mix. I find that the rhythms are a little low and the drums are kind of... It doesn't sound as tight because it's just kind of all over the place. I do enjoy it. I think it's a great album. But yeah, no, when you compare it against Spreading the Disease, that's a much more balanced album overall. And sonically, it's just everything sits in the pocket really well. This is kind of a bit all over the place. Having said that, they are starting to play more riffs here, but it's still, they're working their way through. Like, we're obviously talking about Rain in Blood. At that point in time, they had established their sound. Here, it's just like we're still finding our way through. They were big punk fans, and you still hear that in some of the riffs and stuff like that, but it's still a very, very good album. And it still holds up now. And any band that was sort of starting out and would put out an album like that now, you know, minus the production, if you got the production right, I think they'll be probably doing some serious headway.
Especially in the current climate, agree with that.
Yeah, for me, it was a great energy on the album, but they've always had that. That's part of their makeup as a band, you know, that's high octane, all that kind of stuff. The bass does sound a little funny in spots. It's a very poppy sort of, sounds very disjointed at times.
The mix is pretty good overall.
Yeah, no, not for me.
No.
Well, apparently you just have to cut the power on me.
Yeah, it could be me this time.
The mix was as good as the lighting.
But in terms of album flow, it just flows really good.
Yeah, it does.
You know, there's nothing that sort of detracts or makes you stop and think, oh, hang on, you're losing me for a second. It actually, it gets from point A to B really quickly, but it just flows really seamless for me. For me, it was Hell Awaits, Kill Again, and Praise of Death. Standouts, 9 out of 10.
Cool.
Well, okay. So I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with this one as well. I remember I loved it when it first came out. I mean, I couldn't get enough of it. Again, I got into Rain in Blood, went back and listened to this. I think the thing that gets me about this is it's got a lot more of a punky kind of hardcore feel to it as well. You can see the thrash coming through, but you could definitely see the punk and hardcore kind of elements leading up to that sort of thing. I've never been a big punk or hardcore fan. I'm not saying they're a punk or hardcore band, they're far from it. But there was some looseness that
they do that type of thing, you know. And it's been Slayer's.
So you could see a lot of the thrashier stuff coming into it. You can see the riffs are starting to get more intricate here. Songs are starting to get a bit more extended out as well, which got dropped off a lot of the later albums. I think for me though, that really got me, besides the kind of punky feel to it at times, was like you mentioned, the production. I just found it a bit dry, to be honest. Now it's like you say, it's time stamped. Yeah. We're talking it's an 85 album.
This
like
one, yeah.
Yep.
85.
So yeah, I mean, it is time stamped. You know, you do your best with what you can at the time, sort of thing.
I think Anthrax has had better facilities overall when you compare the two sounds.
I think so. And Anthrax probably had a bit more money behind them at this stage as well. I don't think the Middle World had really cottoned on to what Slayer was bringing to the table.
Slayer didn't have big money
not at this time.
For a while.
Not at this time. No. So I mean, that's probably what you were saying about before that. What was it? Spreading Disease, or which album was it around the time? I think it was Spreading Disease around the time. It sounded a lot more cohesive.
It's a lot more balanced. You know, sonically a lot better than this, in my opinion.
I think what we're seeing here is the band starting to play better. They're starting to write better and everything like this. I think they were just held back a little bit by production, just a tad bit. And also, I think the solos on here, I know you mentioned it, but for me, the solos they kind of seemed a little bit unformed for me at this stage as well. I love Hanneman. He got a lot better. He did get a lot better, but this wasn't his crowning moment for me. And I'm wondering how much of it was Hanneman, how much of it was King, to be honest.
But they were never really one to work out a lot of solos. It was more about the noise was supposed to be there, you know.
It's going to come down to taste in the big one, that one.
Yeah,
Look, man,
they weren't, you know, shredders.
Look, I don't think Kerry King's ever played the same solo the same twice in his life.
No, probably not, no.
You know, it's just, yeah. I'm not a big rap on Kerry King's lead playing. Great riffer, but not solos. Yeah, for me, Hell Awaits, Kill Again, Necrophiliac, I liked. I'm just looking back at it. Oh, shut up.
Don't we like a little...
Right.
Especially when you spread the disease, right?
That's why I'm spreading the disease. Yeah, look, liked it, didn't love it. It's not my go-to Slayer album if I'm going to go to their earlier stuff. So for me, this was a 7 out of 10 for me.
Okay. Well, this is a bit more. It's got the riffs, it's got the groove. It chugs along nicely, but alongside there's some vintage thrash mixed in there. Tight band, tight performances that work well on this one. The downside for me is the lead work on this album. It doesn't. For me personally, it's a taste thing. I'd like a little more musicality to it. It doesn't have to have a lot because they did have some great stuff later on, and that's not anything like, you know, the big shredding lead solo stuff. But it just didn't quite fit the songs right. They still try and work out how to do that. What they do.
On a lot of it, just sound like a flurry of notes. On a lot
Yeah,
of it.
and
you know what I mean? If I want to listen to that, I'm going to listen to Ingve Mums.
Yeah, but they never come across as virtuosos.
Oh,
They've always said that.
They never said that.
That's not supposed to be the point. But I know what they're going for. They get it later on. I don't think they got it on this record in particular. Yeah. It's very much a fast thrash-paced kind of album overall. The writing is very much in that vein. If you like thrash or that sort of hardcore kind of stuff, you're going to really enjoy this one. If you don't, this won't change your mind at all. But there is some cool diversity within the writing of the songs, though, for mine. I thought that was really cool. It isn't punishing or monotonous. It's just does enough to keep you locked in, which was interesting for mine. Yeah. Dark and evil lyrics, as you expect, from the band, full of menace, and delivery is bang on for that. Araya was a great vocalist, even early on. Like, he really knew what he was doing in that regard.
Oh, yeah.
The little effects in production sort of bring out the aspect of the darkness and the evil of what they're doing as well. I thought the production was actually pretty well balanced overall. It had some nice effects at just the right times, which accented things in the songs, and it added to the atmosphere. Not too many tricks or anything like that overall, but it's just really balanced. But everything was really clear on my station at home, which was actually surprising for me considering it was an 85 release. It was just a band captured, mixed really well. It kept things honest, had just a little bit of art to it, but just more than... It was more of a real representation of the band at the time, which I thought was good. It's energetic, it's solid. The track lengths and the changes in them, they really do break up the album nicely for mine, because you get some long ones, some shorter ones, that really helps it. And the overall album isn't too long, which is a good trick for these guys. I'm glad that in the ones we reviewed, there wasn't anything over, I think, 42 minutes from these guys. Yeah. I wouldn't want to do... Like, if they were doing albums the same length as what Anthrax are doing, that'd be harder to take in for mine. Some people really get into it. I don't think I could do it as well.
It depends on the diversity which they brought into the songwriting later on.
Yeah.
But back then, if it's like 15 fast hell-bent for leather tracks, it's going to be very monotonous.
Yeah, but Slayer's never been the most diverse band.
Oh, they did. So, I think they changed it up.
They changed up a fair bit later on, yeah.
Okay.
There's some good stuff coming up if we get to it tonight. Otherwise, we'll get to it at the
HQ.
studio. But yeah, HQ. But I thought this one was really easy to take and repeat listens as well, though. Like, this album was easy to repeat spin. And what's cool about this for me is that you can hear the early sound that they had in common with Metallica. Like, you listen to sort of Kill 'Em All and you listen to this, you can sort of hear the commonality of why they all sort of came up at the same time. I'm not saying they're the same band or as good as each other, whatever. I'm saying that there's a commonality in the sound. That it's a really stripped back sort of sound that sounds good today still, and I think it grows with you as you sit with it. It didn't grab me right off this album. It did not get me right at the start, but the more I span it, I was like, okay, I get it, and now I really like it.
Yeah.
For all that, the lead work was the letdown for me. It pulled me out of the songs, and I don't know, it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I know it doesn't continue through the whole way through, but at the time I hope it doesn't continue because it's going to really make it suffer for me. I don't have to have a virtuoso performance for a song. It doesn't have to have that. But I just want it to make sense in the way the song's written.
Play to the song, not just a bunch
not
of
just
shit.
fucking, I can do this, so I will. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. At Dawn They Sleep, hardening of the arteries, and Praise of Death, my standouts.
There you go.
Yeah, check it out for yourselves. Let us know what you think.
There you go.
All right. Who wants to hear us talk some more? By the light. Okay. Is that a sign?